U.S. President Donald Trump has a way of getting what he wants. On Thursday, the exiled leader of Venezuela's opposition gifted him her Nobel Peace Prize. Corina Machado presented it during a meeting at the White House as a thank you for what she called Trump's principled and decisive action to secure a free Venezuela. But the country is far from free. In fact, their meeting almost coincided with the first State of the Union address by Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, a longtime Maduro ally.
Ms. Machado, how was the meeting?
Corina Machado waves to a mob of supporters waiting to greet her as she leaves the White House in Washington. The Venezuelan opposition leader says she discussed the future of her country with the U.S. president. She also gifted Donald Trump something he's been openly coveting since his first presidential term.
I presented the President of the United States the medal of the Nobel Peace Prize, the recognition for his unique commitment with our freedom.
The Nobel Committee issued a statement saying its decisions are final and that awards can never be revoked, shared, or transferred. That didn't stop the White House putting out this photo of the U.S. president holding a frame containing the medal. In a post on his Truth Social site, Trump called Machado a wonderful woman and thanked her for presenting him with the Peace Prize she won in October, calling it a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. While Washington says it's committed to fresh elections in Venezuela, Machado's offering doesn't appear to have moved the needle on Trump's earlier assessment that Machado, the woman many think should be Venezuela's president, lacks the respect and support of Venezuelans on the ground.
It was a realistic assessment based on what the president was reading and hearing from his advisors and national security team. And at this moment in time, his opinion on that matter has not changed.
Machado has been sidelined by the White House since U.S. forces seized long-term authoritarian leader Nicolas Maduro earlier this month in favor of this woman, Delcy Rodriguez, the former vice president, now acting president, and longtime Maduro ally. She's having to walk a political tightrope, appeasing the U.S. without alienating Maduro loyalists. While Machado was offering Trump her Peace Prize, Rodriguez was giving her first national address in Parliament as interim leader, flanked by a photo of Maduro and his wife, who are now awaiting trial in the U.S.
Venezuela is under threat. All of Venezuela is under threat. And that is why I call for national unity, so that with sovereignty at the forefront, we can fight the diplomatic battle.
Trump has threatened Rodriguez with consequences, quote, worse than Maduro if she doesn't go along with U.S. interests in Venezuela. In her address, the acting president also called for the opening of Venezuela's state-run oil fields to more foreign investment, a key U.S. demand.
Carolina Jimenez Sandoval is president of the Washington office on Latin America and joins us tonight from Mexico City. Carolina, welcome to DW. Now, Machado called the meeting extraordinary and historic, but really, what did she gain?
Thank you. That is a very good question because clearly the meeting was full of expectations, right? I mean, there were many people following basically every move Machado made in Washington, D.C., and she's still in Washington as we speak. It increased her visibility, not necessarily because she's not already a very well-known figure, having received the Nobel Peace Prize, but because the meeting with Donald Trump was a much expected event. Why? Because for good or for worse, and I would say for worse, the United States government is the government that has, the highest amount of influence over Venezuelan de facto authorities at the moment. What did she get beyond recognition as Venezuela's, opposition leadership? It is very unclear what type of political commitments she got from Donald Trump. She's been very closed, about what happened in the meeting. She gave a press conference in Washington today and did not want to disclose major details. She insists that President Trump is committed to Venezuela's freedom, but it is unclear what commitments were achieved.
Actually, on that point, she did thank President Trump in person for fighting for Venezuela's freedom. In your opinion, is that at all what he's doing here?
I think if you think about the objective of the military attack itself, and you take Trump's words to matter, we will first say that no, that democracy has never been a part of his plan. Right after January 3rd, the first press conference President Trump gave indicated that his main concerns were around the U.S. economic interests, mainly, regarding energy and oil. Secretary Rubio tried to sort of exercise damage control and said that the U.S. did have a plan for Venezuela, one of recovery, stabilization, and transition. So if indeed the U.S. has a strategy on democratic transition, the truth is that we don't know the details about this plan. At the moment, the U.S. is working with the de facto authorities of Venezuela, authorities that are known to be part of the repressive and political establishment that was in place before Maduro was ousted. There are some positive steps, like the release of political prisoners. Unfortunately, there are still many people still in prison in Venezuela due to political reasons, and we demand the immediate and unconditional release of all of them. But it doesn't seem that democracy is the main driver of U.S. policy on Venezuela at the moment.
I want to look at Delcy Rodriguez and the State of the Union address that she gave yesterday in a second. But first, before we move on, I want to know from you how Machado's cozying up to Trump and the Trump administration is being viewed by her compatriots in Venezuela and in the diaspora.
I would say there are mixed reviews and mixed opinions. Of course, many Venezuelans understand that Machado is being, I would say, extremely pragmatic. The power the U.S. exercises at the moment over the de facto authorities is huge, and she knows it. And therefore, she embraces Trump's strategy as a way to gain leverage over those authorities back in Caracas. But that said, many Venezuelans are also skeptical that she can really influence U.S. policy, and many Venezuelans resent Trump, especially because of his immigration policies. The diaspora is heterogeneous. The diaspora is also, perhaps divided about this. We know that there is a diaspora that is close to the Republican Party, that diaspora based in Florida or in Texas, and that diaspora has responded positively towards Machado's alignment with Trump. But there is a diaspora that also feels skeptical about cooperation or total alignment with Trump because they don't see his policy as, responding to the values of democracy and human rights.
Yeah. Let's move on to the acting leadership in Venezuela. Then we have a soundbite from yesterday's State of the Union address reacting seemingly to the trip Machado took to Washington. Let's have a listen.
If one day I have to go to Washington as acting president, I will do so standing up, walking, not crawling.
Walking, not crawling, is what she says. She is a Maduro loyalist and now acting president of Venezuela. That was Delcy Rodriguez. Domestically, she's showing defiance. We heard her there. What do we know about how she has been cooperating with the U.S.? They do seem quite happy with her at the time being.
I think her words do not reflect reality. I mean, this is a woman that has, built an image of anti-imperialist leadership for years, and now she's meeting and shaking the hand of the director of the CIA. So she has a defiant narrative inside Venezuela, but she is fully cooperating with the United States for what we can see. So at the moment, I think Delcy Rodriguez understands that her political survival and that of her political project depends on full cooperation with the United States, and that's what she's doing. And I think we will very likely continue to see that cooperation. Today, there was an important announcement, and it's again, we are seeing deportation flights leaving from the United States back to Venezuela.
Yeah.
So, yes, I would insist that the cooperation, that Delcy Rodriguez and her circle understand that full cooperation with the United States is key to her political survival.
Yeah. We only have about a minute left, but I don't want to let you go without asking you about something that Machado said on Fox News. She said she'll be elected president when the right time comes. How much does that depend on America's goodwill?
We need to recognize there is no question that the level of influence the U.S. exercises over the current de facto authorities is important. And it is the U.S. very likely the country that can open the door for Machado to be able to participate politically in Venezuela on fair conditions. We need to remember that she's banned and disqualified for running for office in Venezuela. It's an illegal disqualification, but it's still in place. So yes, she does need U.S. backing to be able to go back to Venezuela and to participate in politics. That said, I do want to be clear about this. The U.S. cannot manufacture legitimacy and popular support. Machado has that on her own, terms, and she's the most important and legitimate opposition leader in Venezuela nowadays.
Carolina Jimenez Sandoval, we appreciate your insights. She's the president of VOLA. Thanks so much.
Thank you.